Hello everyone, welcome back. I'm Joe Figueroa with another video on our series Anatomy of a Dance, where I break down social dancing count for count, pointing out all the dancers do. This week's video is going to be a follow the hands lesson with Didier and Jessica. But first I'm going to ask you to share, like, and subscribe. If you want to donate to the work that I do, there's a link in the description. No worries, I'll remind you later. For now, let's get started. I like doing videos like these where I can show you how comprehensible subtlety can be. This is a short video of a dance, but the technique of following the hand is spread throughout the 1 minute 15 seconds. It just goes to show what I always say, technique is an all the time thing, not a some of the time thing. Starting with the 360 walk in the beginning. We start with this clever back-to-back rotation. Coming out of it, Didier indicates the lead with his left hand for an inside turn. He lowers his right at the same time to make clear where the lead is coming from. As Jessica moves through the turn, Didier places his right hand to her back to keep her within his perimeter, and back breaks here, stepping behind himself to clear a path. What's important to notice here is the handhold, and how Didier maintains the same hold throughout. Aside from a turning of the wrist, Didier keeps his fingers pointed up, straight up. He's keeping and using the hand connection he has to guide her through, at least in part, but it's the biggest part. Didier knows that the follow is going to follow the hand, so he guides the only handhold he has in the direction he intends for Jessica to face. The pressure in his left to her right is constant and well defined. If you look at Jessica, you can see that her head faces in the same direction that her hand is throughout. She is focused, dialed into the dance. She moves so quickly she's able to bring her feet together here after the prep. This is a pause. She pauses in mid-movement to receive information. More on the pause later. From here, many different things could happen. A crossbody lead is most common. Something like an on-the-spot turn to the left or right would be unorthodox, but possible. No matter what, Jessica's ready for anything. Didier chose a walk. The pressure he has in his handhold is fitting. He steps back on his right on 2, which clears the path and presses a bit harder into his hand to guide Jessica down said path, stepping deep to cross Didier as he steps deep with his left on 3 to, in a sense, trade places with Jessica. I like how you can see the symmetry here. During the crossover step on 3, you can see that Didier turns his wrist again from a thumb down to thumb up position, passing the handhold over Jessica's head to guide her to her right as she crosses the path during the walk. The second example is in the very next count of 8. I'm having a hard time labeling this movement. I guess it's a type of rotation. After the walk, Didier takes a single turn to his left, placing her right hand to his midsection with his left and then collecting that hand after the turn with his right, placing them in a lefts over rights position. The back break or hard break implies a copa, or a change in direction for Jessica. But what Didier does is pass the high hold, the lefts, over his head instead of hers, and takes the low hold, the rights, and places her arm across his midsection to his left side. He's using the handhold to guide her around him in an unorthodox way. His step to his left provides the path for Jessica. She moves straight forward, and at this point, he is within her perimeter. Didier releases her right hand, making her focus the high hand, the lefts. He already had pressure placed in her hand and uses that as he turns to his right, which guides her around him in a circle. Another cool thing about this is it was on the movement of the count and the preparation of the next. They're dancing on 2, so the 2-3-5 of this count and the 6-7-1 of the next. You can't quite see it, but Didier gets another turn on the spot after creating the rotation, the count of 7, the entire time keeping the right handhold pressed firm and over his head. As I said, that's on the 7 of the 6-7-1, the prep. The pressure I mentioned in the handhold is used to guide Jessica into an inside turn to lasso type, where Didier hook turns into the next movement. The last example is very cool and I'm definitely stealing this one. It's very similar to the first one in the sense that it's a type of inside turn to 360. Jessica's movements are almost identical. More on that later. This one differs in that it's a 360 crossbody lead, as the first was a 360 to walk. Once the inside turn begins, Didier places his hand to Jessica's back, making sure to collect her for the upcoming change in direction. He sidesteps on 5, the balance step, using that step to clear a path for Jessica, and at the same time, change her direction from one spot to the opposite, technically the spot he was in. Didier quickly steps on 6 and launches himself into a spin to his left, pivoting on the ball of his right foot. You can see that he doesn't rely on his heel. He isn't flat-footed. It's as if he floats. He even steps his left foot down, his 1, in the direction that he intends for her to face. I know one has nothing to do with the other, just like pointing out the precision. Let's focus on the above now. While executing this left turn, Didier passes his left hand, her right, over his head to his left side, not only keeping the hand pointed in the direction that he intends for her, but also has the arm stretched to its length, all but guaranteeing that she's going to follow that line. He steps back on 2, but presses his hand forward, opposite to his direction, to guide her forward on 2. Look at the symmetry here. Almost the same stance, but her weight forward while his is back, both with connected outstretched arms. The press in the hand was for a crossbody lead, with the handhold passing over Jessica's head to guide a turn to her left instead of right. You can see here follows that she doesn't focus on where Didier is. She focuses on the line and the hand. This is excellent following. You have to really appreciate not only how difficult it is to accomplish something like this, but to do it so smoothly. Both dancers are excellent. One thing I wanted to point out for the follows before we go. I noticed that Jessica consistently taps steps, or and steps, in between every prep and movement. I mentioned it earlier, the point where she is receiving information. In addition, it's a great way to keep the timing, and also gives an authentic Caribbean look to her dance style. I hope I get a chance to dance with her sometime. In studying this dance, one thing that stood out to me is the consistent circular movement. It very much feels to me like a timba or Cuban style for both dancers. A lot of trading space. Very nice. But that's going to do it for me. Thank you all so much for watching. If you want to support what I'm doing, there's a QR code you can use to donate. Anything is appreciated. Otherwise, please share, comment, like, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one, and hopefully very soon on the dance floor.